Hello and welcome to another Facebook Live session from me and my trusty assistant, Katie. And today I'm going to be talking to you and hopefully having a bit of discussion with you about weight, and specifically why it's hard to lose it. But also I want to think about anybody who struggles with their weight, whether it's gaining it or losing it, because it's all a very similar thing. And I'm going to talk about this from two perspectives. I'm going to talk about it from the point of view of metabolism, and I'm going to talk about it from the point of view of addiction. Obviously, anything I talk of, because I'm a cognitive hypnotherapist, is going to be about the way the head controls it. I am not here to talk to you about nutrition and exercise and all that sort of stuff. I'll let you fill that stuff in for yourself. So let's start with talking about metabolism and the relationship between metabolism and weight. There is a common perception that weight is a simple factor of calories in versus calories burned. But there is an additional factor in that, which is times metabolic rate. So you times your calories in times your calories burnt, or minus your calories burned, multiplied by metabolic rate. So let me explain what metabolic rate has to do with this from a mental point of view. In the caveman days, it was usual to have periods of feast and periods of famine. During a period of famine, you didn't have enough food to give you the energy to do what you needed to do in your day. And because you didn't have enough food, your subconscious is looking at your environment and determining the best way of giving you the long chance of survival. So what this means is, during a period of famine, anything you ate, you would take all the nutrition you possibly could from what you ate to give you the best chance of getting energy and keeping going, basically. The last thing you want to do during a period of famine is use your resources in your body, because the sooner you use the resources in your body, the sooner they run out, and the sooner they run out, the sooner you die. So as far as your subconscious is concerned, during a period of famine, adjust your metabolic rate to process the food in a different way, i.e. to take all the nutrients it can from the food. Then what happens is you have a period of feast. What's a period of feast? A period of feast is where food is plentiful. Now, when food is plentiful, what's really important for your long-term survival is to restock up your resources, because what your subconscious knows is there will be periods of famine coming along again soon. So during a period of feast, it once more adjusts your metabolic rate to be able to take the nutrition from the food, and instead of using it, it takes that nutrition and it stores it in your reserves. So then, when you have a period of famine again, you have a bigger pool of reserves, right? Kind of makes sense, really. So your subconscious is looking at your environment, determining the risk in your environment, and changing the way you metabolize what you eat in accordance with that risk. There is a second dimension to this that again comes from the caveman days and how we worked. So again, in the caveman days, let's say you're camped next to a pack of saber-toothed tigers. That's the only place that's close to the water, and that's where the buffalo roam, or the woolly mammoth, or whatever it is. So you are now in an environment where at any moment you could be attacked. At any moment you will need to run away. And again, your subconscious is looking at your environment and determining that it's not particularly a safe environment. Now, when you're having to suddenly run away from something, what's really important is that you have plenty of energy easily available to you very quickly. So what happens is your body and mind change the way you process food to store it really close to your organs. Because if it's really close to your organs, when you suddenly need to leg it, all the energy is there that you need to call on straight away. So this is why you have fat buildup around your middle more than anywhere else, because that's where most of your organs are kind of around your middle. So your subconscious metabolizes your food to store the energy close to the organs so that you can use them if your subconscious thinks that you are in an unsafe environment. It does this through releasing cortisol. Cortisol changes the way you metabolize your food and where you store it. Cortisol also affects things like your reproductive system. Having babies when camped next to a pack of saber-toothed tigers, not necessarily a good plan. So again, on another level, your subconscious is constantly looking at your environment to determine whether you're safe and how to process what you eat, which is adjusted through your metabolism, which is why I say this isn't as simple as calories in minus calories burned up. So let's fast forward now for a moment to the modern day, where we don't have saber-toothed tigers, where we don't have periods of feast and periods of famine. Or do we? Because actually, what is a diet? What is a diet? A diet is a period where you limit your food intake. Now, your brain knows what to do with limited food intake. It adjusts your metabolism accordingly to compensate for this, so that at some point, when you have a chance to eat again, you've got the best chance of surviving till then. So what happens during a diet is, most people who've ever dieted will have lost weight. You can lose weight during a diet. But what happens is, everybody has time off a diet, don't they? You have a weekend off, you have a holiday, you have a birthday party or something else to go to. And what do you do during a time of diet? Well, you eat when you're off your diet. Sometimes you even have, oh, sod it, I've broken the diet anyway, I might as well go the whole hog and finish this. So you've stopped listening to your body and you are now following these rules. Well, your brain knows what to do with that. A diet is a period of famine and it knows how to change your metabolism. And the time off your diet, which you inevitably have, is a period of feast, and it knows what to do with that as well. Which is why anybody who's dieted will have lost weight, but will have gained some and more, lose some, gain some, until you get to such a point that you've got diet fatigue, where you just are neither dieting or not dieting all the time, which obviously is going to lead to an ongoing weight gain. So the thing that's important to remember is that your brain is adapting to the clues and the signals that you give it. But the other thing that's really important to remember when we think about metabolism and when we think about the way we process food is that we naturally know how to listen to our mind-body connection. We grow up with the ability to listen to our mind-body connection. A child won't eat if it's not hungry. Very few children eat until they're sick. The only time a child eats until they're sick is if they're deprived of something and they're just, they're binging on it in some way, shape or form. But we learn as we grow up, as we start dieting, to not listen to our mind-body connection, to not listen to when we're hungry, to not listen to when we're full because we're following rules, or we're deliberately not following a rule if we're having time off our diet. And so the key to, from a metabolic rate point of view, to anything to do with weight from a metabolic point of view, is to understand that your body, your mind and body are just reacting accordingly to your environmental clues. And that the best thing you can actually do is to be mindful of your mind-body connection. Instead of listening to an external rule or enforcing an external abnormal environment that could take you into feast or famine, to actually allow your mind and body to communicate. This can be as simple as eating mindfully. So when you've got food in your mouth, notice the taste and the texture of the food. When you swallow it, noticing what it feels like when you hit your stomach. And you may initially override what it feels like, but at least being aware of what's going on is a start. So that's the first dimension to the mental side of weight. And I think too many people underestimate the environmental impact. Now, when I talk about the cortisol release and the storing of fat around your middle, about not being safe, well, there's a whole bunch of things in modern society that make you not safe. For example, a common one might be that you don't feel like you're very likable or very lovable as a person. And that's a kind of a hard thing to change. So you put on weight and size, because then at least at some level you can believe that people don't like you because of the way you look, which technically you can change, rather than they don't like you because you're not a very nice person. People can use weight, or the subconscious can use weight to hide physicality, like a fat suit, to protect you from people seeing your shape, who you are, getting close to you. There are people who identify themselves as the fat friend, and they have no identity without their weight. It gives them a role in life. These are all things that sit at the subconscious level, but an awareness of them can stop you beating yourself up so much for the perception that you're failing at diets and things like that. Most people I know who come to see me for weight loss haven't failed at diets at all. They've been incredibly successful. But to keep repeatedly doing something again and again is not about failure. It's just about, if you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. And so sometimes you need to change. So metabolic rate is dictated by your subconscious. Your subconscious uses clues from your environment and adjusts your metabolism accordingly, so that whatever you eat, you process it differently. So that's at one level. So for people who've had friends who always seem to eat whatever they want to and be slim whatever, that's a metabolic difference. So this is what I mean. It's not a simple equation of, if you eat so much and you do so much, then you automatically lose weight. Your brain has the veto on what happens with that. So that's one dimension. So the other dimension I want to talk to you about with weight is to do with the concept of addiction. If you imagine that there is a push button on your kitchen wall, and whenever you press that button, you will feel better. So whether you've had a stressful day, or whether you're worried about something, or whether you feel alone, or whatever it is, you know if you go and press that button, you're going to get this instant dose. Worst case scenario, when you press that button, you get to switch off and you get to not think about any of that. You get total mindlessness. So all that's happening, if you struggle to choose what to eat, if you find yourself eating certain things that you know you shouldn't, wouldn't, couldn't eat, is that as far as your subconscious is concerned, the food represents pressing that button. Eating the food gives you a feeling, or eating the food allows you to escape from a feeling. If you think about people who smoke, a common worry for people who smoke is that when they stop smoking, they'll put weight on. It's a common reason that people don't stop smoking, is because they don't want to put weight on. If smoking was an appetite suppressant, then the cigarette companies would have billboards everywhere saying, smoke more, lose weight. They'll do anything, obviously, because smoking is so unpopular. They would do anything to encourage you to smoke. But smoking is not an appetite suppressant. What happens is, smoking is like pressing the button. Smoking is serving a purpose. And then when you stop smoking, the purpose remains. So you turn to something else to satisfy that need, quite often with food. But people can equally do it with a glass of wine at night, or they can do it with obsessive exercise, or shopping, or anything. Anything where, in order to create or escape from a feeling, you use a tool or a substance, is an addiction. And so with weight, when we've got past metabolism, the other aspect to weight challenges can be a simple addiction to food. And I say simple because the meaning that food has is not true. It is not true that food makes you feel loved, food makes you feel comforted, food makes you feel safe, food allows you to switch off, because what happens after you've eaten more than you'd like to is all those effects are cancelled out because you feel absolutely rubbish about yourself, but you can't help it because your subconscious goes, yeah, do it. And your subconscious is in control of the immediate urges. That's what it does. So they come from Those 7,363,228 minutes that you experience by the time you're 14 years old, one of those minutes, 5 of those minutes will have established a meaning that food had. So your granny, there was an article in the papers recently. Oh no, it wasn't. It was Age Concern did a survey recently saying that we remember our grandparents by the food that we had with them. So you go down to your granny's at Christmas and she'd always cook you really nice meal, or she'd let you have treats. And so whenever you're feeling a bit sad or stressed or everything's a bit overwhelming and you need to recover that feeling of being loved and feeling safe, then you eat treats because it gives you that feeling in an instant. It's called an anchor. So what happens when you struggle to give up eating specific things is that you've got an emotional anchor to the food. And that comes from when you were growing up. You clear the emotional anchor, the food loses meaning, and then you can eat it back to that mindful way where you just taste it and you use it as fuel, because that's really all food is. So it tends to be 2 layers. So the simplest layer is that I've just talked about, that emotional anchor that food has created for us. Most people have a certain type of food that is their emotional anchor. And as I say, just imagine that food is like pressing a button. As long as you have the need to press the button, you'd be crazy not to. And food's the same. As long as you have the need to get this feeling, you'd be kind of crazy not to eat, no matter how you feel afterwards. So the first level is an emotional meaning that food has. That's relatively simple to clear out the way. The second level happens once you've cleared your relationship with food. You seem to eat far less than other people, you seem to eat far better than other people, but it doesn't translate into your size somehow. And that is where your subconscious is adjusting your metabolism for whatever reason. And it's adjusting your metabolism because it thinks you're not safe in some way, and so it's taking you in and out of feast and famine, which means that you are not in control of what happens to whatever you eat. You can control what you eat, but you can't control what's done with it. So weight, in my world, when we're looking at it from a mental perspective, is a factor of 2 things. It's a factor of metabolism and addiction. It can be one or the other, or it can be both. You don't know until you start clearing out the way which one it is. So if you're struggling, next time you're eating, pay attention. Why am I eating this? And am I doing it because it's mindless? It allows me to totally escape. And this includes wine, by the way, if you tend to have a few glasses of wine in the evening. What feeling am I getting or escaping from by doing this? That is your first clue as to what's going on. And ask yourself, if there was some reason, whatever it might be, to not feel safe that might impact my metabolism, I wonder what that might be, because that might be the clue of what to work on.